Hi everyone, in this video tutorial I'll be going over the how to make a website using HTML and Dreamweaver as its editor. So what is exactly Dreamweaver? The HTML is the core language that Dreamweaver is using to create these web pages, and basically it allows us to create the skeleton of our website. So if you can imagine, maybe when you're building a house, you first have to lay in the bricks or the wood panels and so on. So that's what HTML does. It allows us to build the basic core of the skeleton of our website. We also learn how to use CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and that you want to think of as the interior design for your home, right? So basically the CSS allows us to customize and create just the look and the feel that we want to have for our site. It is very important to stay highly organized when working in HTML or any other program that involves web delivery content, because, for example, Dreamweaver is a pointer program, which means that it does not embed the files, it simply points to them, unlike Photoshop, for example, which embeds any images that, for example, you import into its interface. So it's completely different. So that's why it's really important to have a root folder, which this would be considered my root folder, that would consist all the assets that you want to use on your site. So we have an assets folder that includes like a textual information that I want to add to my website, and I also have a few images. So you want to also make sure to compress the images for web delivery content. So all these photos, I have 3 photos, and they're all under 300 kilobytes. Please note that 1,000 kilobytes would be considered 1 megabyte, and 1,000 megabyte would be considered 1 gigabyte. So we definitely want to make sure that to keep these numbers fairly low, but also we don't want to compromise the quality of the images that we're using. And I also have a textual file, so it is the information I want to add to my homepage, and this is a video link that I want to embed on that page. This is again another paragraph for my about page, and here's how to embed the code to embed a Flickr video link, and I'm going to go over that with you as in the next demo. And also, if you have any CSS content, which you would want to put it in this folder. And this, you want to prepare all these files prior to starting Dreamweaver and pointing to this root folder. A very important step in prepping your files for web delivery is compressing your images, which basically means to reduce the size of your photos so that they don't take too long to load without losing the quality. So in this video I'll be showing you a really quick way of making your images smaller, but later down the semester I'll be showing you another technique that allows you to have more control on how you can reduce the size of your photos. So for the purpose of this tutorial, though, we're just going to use this quick technique that I'm going to be sharing with you right now. So I've added 2 new photos in to my images folder, and I always try to use names and numbers that are easy, that are kind of short and easy to change if I have to do that later down the line. So if you click on your the thumbnail of your photo, and if you choose Command I or Control I on a PC, you'll get this dialog box that gives you the general information for your photo. So it says a JPEG, and it gives you the width and the height of your photographs as well, which is 4,727 width by 2,938 pixels in height. Again, when you're preparing files for web delivery, you want to make sure your images are in RGB and and in pixel format. And so now, and 1 megabyte for a photo is rather large, and as I'm looking at the pixel, it's going to be way too big for my page. So I'm going to go ahead and open this in Photoshop, and I want to keep my images consistently the same size for this particular set. However, I mean, if you have images that are going to be part of a banner of your page, you can create a subfolder called the banner and put those images that are whatever the specific sizes that may be different from your other pictures inside of that folder. This just keeps things a lot more organized. But right now we're not gonna have a banner here. So I have my images in this folder, and I'm gonna go back to here, and I'm gonna try to make them all the same width and height as my carousel folder. If I do Command I or Control I on PC, these are 600 by 390, and you can even put that on the label of your photos, 390. So this way, as soon as you look at the photo, you kind of know the size of the image. So it just keeps things a lot more organized. So this was image 1, and I'm gonna just copy that, and you can go ahead and just paste it in there and paste it in there. And now I know that that's the size that I need to make this picture. So I'm going to choose image size, and the resolution for the web images that are to be delivered on the web should be 72. You can sometimes go up to 96 pixels. That on certain monitors that they would just look sharper. But for the purpose of what we're doing here, we want to keep everything at 72 dpi in RGB, and I'm going to change the measurement units to pixel. However, as you could see, it's not allowing me to do that. In order to be able to make that change, you have to click this resample checkbox, and now you can see that I'm able to make that change. And so we want to change that to 600. So I want to make the width 600, but as you could see, the height changes to 373. So in that case, I'm going to make the height 390, and I have 627 width on the pixel. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And now the step 2 of this process is that I'm going to go to image canvas size and make this 600. Basically, it's going to cut off 27 pixels from right and left. And you want to say yes. I'm going to go save a copy in computer, and you want to make sure that it's going to the right folder. 600 by 390. Now I'm going to open up the second image, and we're going to go over the same steps again. So again, we want to make sure this set is to pixel and it's looking good. So I want to make the width 600 and this one falls to 400. So that I'm just going to leave this. It's 72 dpi. I'm going to confirm that's in RGB, and now I'm going to go to canvas size and change this to 390. Again, you would do this process if you want to make sure that all your pictures are exactly the same size, but sometimes you have pictures that are vertical and or horizontal, and based on their placement they don't need to be the same size. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I want to show you how you could actually utilize Photoshop to resize your pictures for consistency. I'm gonna go ahead and say OK, and now I'm going to copy this and make sure the naming is also consistent. And now I have my pictures. If I choose Command I, I'm going to confirm that these are 600 by 390. I'm going to confirm that this is 600 by 390 as well. So this is the process of the quick process of resizing your photographs. However, down the line I'll be showing you how to utilize the export option, say for the web, that gives you a lot more control in terms of the level of compression that you want to use and so on. But we'll cover this one later down the semester. For the purpose of next couple of weeks, you can just use this method that I just showed you. Once you have all of your files organized and your images prepped and collected your textual information for your site, we are ready to launch Dreamweaver and defining our site, which means we're going to tell Dreamweaver, which is our HTML editor, as to the location of our root folder website. So when I launched the program, your very first clue as to if Dreamweaver knows where your files are located is this panel, the file panel to the left hand side. So if you see a computer on the top here, that means the program has no idea where your files are at. And that's why right next to it you see a link that says, that is giving you a clue on how you can manage the site. As I mentioned before, Dreamweaver is a pointer program. It doesn't actually embed the files like Photoshop, and if you don't tell the program where your files are at, it will get confused, and then you'll get missing images on your web pages. So this part is extremely important. And one thing that you want to also remember, that if you change the name of your folder or if you change the location of your folder, you have to redo this process, and I'll be showing you that right now. So right now we're just going to do manage site, and I already have created actually I'm going to delete that and show you again. So to get rid of a site, you just highlight and click the minus sign. So we're going to start from scratch. Basically, I'm going to create a brand new site. So in order to do that, you want to choose new site, and I'm going to say Hurry week 2, and then underneath it you'll see that it has an option. You want to click on this folder, and now you want to go and point to where your files are located. And now basically you see that you have all the information that you need inside of this folder. Basically everything in this file panel is going to be mirroring what we have in our root folder. Now that we have all of our images resized for the web, and we have all of our files organized, and also we have our site defined in Dreamweaver, we're ready to create our very first web page. Again, it's very important that you define your site by going to Site, Manage Site prior to creating your web pages. Also, if you need to change the location or edit the name of your site, you can always click on this pencil tool, and let's say if you have changed the name, you want to point it to the new folder, then you can just go ahead and redo this process. But right now I haven't changed anything, so we're gonna just leave that as it is, but this edit button allows you to do that. So I'm gonna make a basic HTML page, so I'm gonna go ahead and choose File, New Document, HTML. We want to make sure this is set to none and this is set to HTML5. I'm gonna just welcome to my first website. I'm going to go ahead and say create, and immediately after that I'm going to choose save as, and the very first page of your website should always be named index and it should all be lowercase. This is so that the browsers would automatically load the page. They already know if it's named index, it means it's your very first page, and they would just automatically load it up to the online. So as I mentioned before, HTML is a tag-based program, and for every opening tag there's a closing tag. So the head tag basically contains anything that's sort of the like if you're using any interactive content such as JavaScript, cascading style sheet, which allows you to format the pages, would go in here. So anything that runs your website, like the feel and the look of your website, but it's not going to be visible to the viewer. So it's it's all the back-end material that you would use to let's say if you're adding interactive content, like video players and so on, it would go in here. The title is what basically shows on the top of the page. So if I save this, make sure it's in there, right? It's right there. And you can preview your page by clicking on the icon at the bottom right hand side. And as you could see, there is nothing on this page, but the title, this is not previewing correctly. Let me actually do something different. Sometimes you have to actually grab the page and drag it on the browser. Dreamweaver doesn't display it right. So you can see the title of my page shows up right here. Welcome to my first website. And now you have the headers, and the body tag is basically where you would put all the textual information, or if you have videos and any type of textual info. So basically the body is where the information would be visible to the viewer. So again, it's really important to also pay attention to the colors that are being used. So the static text means the text that doesn't do anything is identified as white. Anything that's involves like kind of a like a CSS, or basically it's part of the HTML programming, it's identified as different colors, like oranges, greens, and some other purples, and we'll get to that in a minute. The body copy is the only place that you can actually put in information that then becomes visible on the back end, which means that if you preview it, then you can actually see it on a browser. So I'm going to go ahead and come back and open up my text page. I'm going to go ahead and copy this text here. And again, for anything to become visible on the browser, it has to be within the body copy. So it has to be within this opening tag and closing tag of this body. So I'm going to go back in the middle and simply paste the text. And as you can see, it basically added the textual information to the page based on the default setting in this program. So I'm going to go ahead and actually so I have my home, and of course this is not formatted, so we usually want to kind of format our the information on the page using cascading style sheets, which I'll be showing you again later down the line. Right now I'm going to just show you a couple of additional tools. So you want to make sure you have your files and panels visible. You want to make sure your properties is visible as well. So in the properties tab, you can see that I have two different buttons here. So one, basically, if I had my CSS or cascading style sheets that's going to format this information on this page, I would click here and I would find it and I would address it. And we'll talk about that in the coming weeks. But for now, just make sure you pay attention. If you're trying to do something with the paragraph and you don't see the option, look at these two buttons and see where, if you're on the right place. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my HTML, and I'm going to move this down a little bit. So there are options that are that you could use by default in Dreamweaver to add different sizes, font sizes, and changing like the static text to, let's say, a header text. So this is a paragraph, but let's say if I want to make home like a header, I'm going to just simply click that here, and if I just choose header 1, you'll see that automatically, or header 2, you'll see that automatically it adds like a tag for the headers for me. And I could, if I want to change it to 1, which is bigger, so header 1 is the biggest one, header 5 is the smallest one. So I can just simply come back in the thing and change it, and automatically you'll see that it just changes in size. And I can say welcome. I could change it again. Remember that I could edit it here, or I could edit it there. So I'm gonna just sort of do it here for now. And you can see that automatically it updates here. And so if I make it return, you'll see that this numbers and special characters basically means like extra space. So as soon as I do that, you see that it automatically moved this other paragraph lower on the page. So now if I want to have another header, so let's say if I want to just I can either copy and paste this. I can come right down here, and This one, maybe I'm gonna say about. Sometimes it's easier to edit it like on the actual text here. And let's say this one, I want to make it so that it's a different color. Oops. Different size again. I'm going to come back here and maybe choose like a smaller size. And you can also assign colors here. I'm going to go ahead and save the page so that I don't lose the information. You can also add images to your page. So maybe on the about, I'm going to just choose, if I added like a, see what picture they bring in. So you can drag the picture and bring it in on the page, or you can choose the insert button. So I'm going to go ahead and actually do that. Insert image, and I'm going to say insert after. So you can either, like I said, drag and drop, or sometimes if you do drag and drop, it may not like it as much. So yeah, so okay, so maybe we do that. And this picture is a little big, and as you could see, there's a path that's created for me here, which says, oh, you have your pictures in the assets folder, images. This is carousel 1. It's 600 wide by 390 height. So if I want to make this a little smaller, you want to make sure it's proportionate. So if I let's say I want to make this 500, then you want to make sure to, instead of 600, if I want to make it 500, you want to go ahead and make sure that you take 200 off, or 100 off this and 100 off that. So that would be 290. So it's all proportional. So that's my picture. I can give it an ID in case I want to do other things with it. ING stands for the ID. And one thing that's interesting here, when I typed it, you always want to use lowercase, but I purposefully actually used an uppercase here to show you. So we're not supposed to use uppercase in our naming convention, but let's say you made a mistake and you kind of did that. Like I purposefully did all of this and this so that I show you how you can correct it. So all you have to do is you have to be in this panel. You have to make these changes in the files panel in the Dreamweaver. You want to just click on the name and just make this correction. And it says, oh, the index is connected to this. Do you want to update the link? You want to make sure to say yes. So this is really, really important. You never want to go and change it in here. And you see, as I did that, it automatically updated it here. So I'm going to do those, make those changes here as well. You have to click once to select it. And I'm going to, and press the return so that it unselects it. And again, I'm going to do the same here. It keeps wanting to launch Photoshop. So actually, let me just make sure, yeah, you just make sure you just click once. And then it says, oh, do you want to update it? You want to make sure to say yes, update. So this is how you, if you make a mistake and use uppercase, I mean, nowadays the browsers are more forgiving, but if you're using an older browser, if you have uppercase, some of the pictures don't load up. So now we add an image and we add some text, and maybe here you can just say some things about yourself. Okay, I can actually, if I wanted to, I can just come back here. I can highlight the code, use Command X, and then maybe just come back here under this about, see where there's a paragraph tag, right? I can simply just paste it in there. I'd like you to get comfortable with using the code panel more often. And here, as you can see, I have 2 extra P tags. P stands for paragraph, H stands for headings, and of course we learned that everything that, if I want to show everything on a page, it needs to be within a body tag. And I have my picture right here. So let's do a couple more things. Let's add an email link, and you can email me at, that's whatever text you want to put on there. And here, then you would just put your email address. And then automatically it'll insert it. Again, as you could see, anything that involves a link is identified by like the orange color and a green, like a href stands for like a link, like a hard link. So for example, here we have the link is pointing to the asset folder, which is the images, and then you have the picture here, and this is the width and the height of the photo. And here I have my email link, and as you could see, the hard code for the email link is mail to : Eisenhower. So I could, instead of going through these steps, I could have simply just typed in this code in here in my files and panels property window right here, mail to. So there's, like I said, a couple of different ways that you could do this thing. And I don't like the location of this email, so I'm gonna press the return key to move it down. Now just gonna add 2 more things for this part of this video instruction. I'm gonna save this. Actually, I'm gonna just get rid of the ads email name. So 2 other things I'm gonna show you here. One, I'm gonna show you how to embed a video and embed a map. Okay, now we're gonna learn how to embed video content from either YouTube, Vimeo, or any other platforms that allows you that functionality. So basically the steps will be all the same. So I'm going to use the YouTube for this demo. I'm going to click on the video and you want to come down here and choose the share option. And from the share option, you'll see an embed option. You can also have just copy and paste the link, but the embed option, and it basically tells it asks you when you want to start the video, at what point. Let me just check that, and let's click copy, and I'm going to come back here, and I think I want to put it right after the closing tag of my first paragraph. Press the return key. I'm going to paste it. It's going to take a little bit for it to view, and you don't want to worry about it because it actually does play. And from down here, you see a little globe to the right hand side. It's your preview option. You can click on that and choose Google Chrome. You can see that I have my links here. The video, if I click it, it's just going to play. On the page, I have my photo here and I have my email. The email is not going to really work because it needs to be uploaded to a server, and now I'm working locally on my computer. So, and now let's go ahead and close this, and I'm going to show you how to embed and Google Maps. So I've basically just used let's see, and then maybe So you want to click on this menu option here, and when you go down, you have an option to share or embed map, and you can either choose the basic link, but we want to embed the actual map on the page. So I'm going to go ahead and say embed map, copy HTML, and maybe come back here, and maybe you'll just maybe below the email link. I simply paste the code. Oops, actually, you have to paste the code here. I'm going to paste the code, and if the map is bigger than what you anticipated, you can again do the same thing I did with the picture. So this is 600 by 450, so I want to make sure it's proportionate. So I'm going to make this 500 by 350 so that it fits properly. It's the same size as the picture. Maybe from here, I'm going to move this down, and I'll just copy this title here, and I'm gonna come back up here and simply paste the contact here. And if I highlight it, I know that was the header 2. I'm going to go ahead and choose header 2, and so this would be like the map and the email and so forth, so on. Of course, it's not really well designed or formatted. You're just adding content at this point. So one last thing that I'm going to show you is whatever picture, image, or text that you have, you can actually link it to an external site. So for example, here I'm just going to move this down. I can say, please visit my website, and if I highlight it here, the text here, I'm going to actually go to my own website. So I'm going to copy this link here, and I'm going to come back, and I can highlight the whole thing, but if I just want my website to be the link, I'll just keep this my website, and then I'll paste the link to my website in the link tab under this properties inspector. And as you can see, there's a tiny little window right next to it that says target. You want to click that and make sure it opens to blank. And if you don't see it, make sure there is that arrow key that's visible. So now this website, if I click it, you'll see that it will go to my own website. I can also make any image on my page to link to where I want it to link. So maybe this picture I want it to link to or maybe Adobe. So again, you want to click it, and then let's say this is the link. This is a very long link though, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you just copy. I'm gonna maybe just delete this. Just copy the whole URL, come back here, make sure you're on the properties inspector, and click the options just to see that you're in the right place, and then paste the code here and make sure the target is set to blank. Sometimes you have to actually click a couple of times before you can get the drop down arrow, and you want to make sure it's set up like that. Means that the picture is going to open up on its own window. So Dreamweaver allows us to add a lot of complexity to our website, adding different types of media without having to actually hand code all these tags that's basically added for us based on these few things that I showed you. So just to quickly go over, I'm clicking on the code tab. You'll see that you have an opening HTML, closing HTML. Every single thing on your website needs to be within these two parameters. The next part is the body tag. Anything that's in the body tag is visible to the viewer, whoever is visiting the site, your website. This section under the head tag is for when we add cascading style sheet to format our page, because as you can see, we put the content on there, but the page is not formatted. We don't have a color palette. We haven't had any paddings or margins added to the text and the images on the page. So we'll look at it again. But this is where once we add this cascading style sheets, that's where it would go. It would go right between these head tags. And then we obviously have our headers that I can use header 1, I can use header 2. If I decide that I want everything to be the same size, I can manually go and change it. Just change it to 1. Make sure you change both the closing tag and the opening tag and the closing tag. And then, as I mentioned, you want to pay attention to the colors that Dreamweaver uses. So all the links are, you can see this identified in orange. The href, which means this creating whatever the links are identified as green. So the colors really would help us identify what we're doing easier just by just looking at them. And then of course here I have my the link to my website that's blank, and I wanted to make this one also same, like bigger. Remember, header 1 would be bigger than header 5. So now I'm gonna save the page, and you can preview it from clicking down the bottom right hand side, preview on the browser, or you can do it from file, preview on the browser. So real-time preview. So there's a couple of different ways to test your site. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So like I said, we added a bunch of content on the page. However, we need to be able to format it, because as you can see, it does not look very good. So, but we have our video, we have our text, we have our headers, we have this one is going to link to Adobe. So if I click it, it'll go to Adobe. And this is my map. If I click it, you can see that it tells me, how long it's going to take for me to get to this location. If I click here, it'll take me to my photography website. As you can see, it's very easy to add different types of media and content to your website by simply copying and pasting from a Word document and changing the headers on your pages based on this, desired size, as well as embedding videos and creating links. However, the pages that are created using only HTML and CSS, they are not very sophisticated looking, and they don't adjust to the different medium that you're going to be looking at the websites through. So for example, if you're going to look at this page on a phone, it's going to dramatically look different than what we're looking at right now. So we are, for this class, once we learn the basic language of HTML and the tag concept of tags and just the basic functionalities of creating links and adding pages, we are going to shift to creating responsive design websites, and I'm going to just share with you a couple of student examples. So this is one example. Oops. And these are basically all responsive design sites from my previous students. And as you can see, you want to pay attention with to the pictures, color palette, and this particular site would adjust. As you can see, as I resize it, it basically displays how the page would look if you were to look at it on a tablet or on a phone. And that is why we utilize responsive design sites for this specific purpose. And of course, they look a lot more sophisticated. And so the responsive design sites, there are a lot more complexity attached to them because they utilize multiple languages. So for example, if I look at this particular student site, you can see besides having multiple HTML pages, you have many different separate cascading styles attached to it, and also we have JavaScript files that's gonna create animation and all kinds of interactivity that basically looks and feels a lot more sophisticated than a generic page such as this one. So these we will learn how to utilize these tools. The beauty of Dreamweaver is that we do not have to sit and write code, hard coding such as these. We can actually utilize the available templates, responsive design templates, and customize those templates so that we can create web pages that look and feel as we intended for them to do. So so again, the first part of the class is for us to learn how to learn the basic functionality of the program, and then we'll move into learning how to create responsive design websites.